Thank you. When I was a freshman in high school, my English teacher, Miss Washington, would not allow us to use ballpoint pens. I think she thought they were the latest invention of the devil to steal our souls, or at the very least, our secrets. So Miss Washington I don't remember the name of my English teacher at James Monroe High School, my freshman year in high school. I always called her Miss Washington because she looked exactly like George Washington. She made us use a fountain pen, and not the kind with cartridges, no, the kind with the spigot on the side that you opened and it would suck up the ink. In fact, that was the only definition we had for the word suck up, ink coming up a fountain pen. Well, thanks to Miss Washington, my penmanship improved immensely. I could write with triple-size letters, with curly Q's and swirly Q's. I could cross my T's with wavy lines, dot my I's with saucer circles. I thought my writing quite distinguished, although my grades did not reflect my personal joy. And when Miss Washington told us to write a 3-page paper, I could do that with 12 sentences easily. At that time, I was living in the Bronx with my mother and my grandmother and my Uncle Max. And thanks to my Uncle Max, who was the manager of the Parsons School of Design art supply store, I had my choice of any color ink I wanted. I chose the rare peacock blue. I would go home every day after school. Grandma was in the kitchen making dinner, and I would practice writing with my large curly Q's and swirly Q's, and Grandma would tell me that my writing was beautiful. She would explain that her own looked like a chicken was scratching itself. But she would also encourage me, and she always had cookies and milk for me, and the cookies she covered with confetti, and I don't know whether it was what she put in the confetti, but I always spilled all of my secrets to Grandma. She would tell me everything she had done during the day, including the events on her favorite soap opera, The Secret Storm, and then she would tell me hers. Grandma and I loved secrets. Her biggest, she made me promise never to tell my mother or my Uncle Max. There are some things about a mother children should never know. Well, Grandma's gone, Mama's gone, Uncle Max is gone, so I can tell the secret. His name was Lou. That winter, when Grandma wasn't recovering from viruses and colds, my Uncle Max took his savings and sent her to Miami to visit my Aunt Rose. Miami at that time was the Riviera of recovery, the Jewish Lourdes. And Grandma explained that one day I was walking along the beach in Miami. I was on the beach in my pedal pushers, the capris of today. And Aunt Rose and I were walking, and I met this nice man, this lovely man. His name is Lou. And even though your grandfather's been gone these 5 years, your mother and your Uncle Max wouldn't want me to be out with another man. But what harm could it be? I mean, I met him with Aunt Rose, and I'm not the only lady in Florida who ever met a man on the beach. And he's such a lovely man. And he's a widower like I'm a widow, such heartache, Tsuris. But, Mamala, you should someday meet such a nice boy. Like, this man is nice. And anyway, I made Aunt Rose promise that she wouldn't tell not even Uncle Benny, because Uncle Benny would tell Aunt Eva, who has a mouth like a garbage truck and never liked me anyway. And whose business is it anyway? And then she took out of her apron pocket, folded exactly to its size, Today in the mail, in an envelope with my name on it, I don't even know how he got my address. It must have been from Aunt Rose, came a letter from Lou. Listen, and she opened it up and she read it to me. Skipping the juicy parts, I could tell. And then when she finished, she said, look, Mama, look at his nice, long, lean handwriting. It's elegant and educated man, not like mine. And I have to make me the answer with the letter. So I'm hoping that if I tell you what's in mine heart, you will write with the beautiful curly cues and swirly cues and the wavy lines and the big saucer circles. What could I say? Actually, nothing, because she had stuffed more cookies into my mouth. Besides, she'd had me with what's in mine heart. So Grandma dictated, I triple wrote, and we became conspirators, writing secret love letters to Lou. Grandma would tell Lou about her day. She would describe her canasta games and mahjong games as if she were in a master's bridge tournament. She talked about the lodge meetings that she went to for the International Workers' Order as if they were lectures at Columbia University. Lou, in turn, wrote about concerts I was certain he had gone to and lectures that he had gone to. And in one letter, he wrote to her about a recent concert he had attended where he had seen some lovely ladies. Did Grandma perhaps remember the lovely Mrs. Kleinman? Oh, yes. Grandma remembered and had much to say about Mrs. Klein. It means little. That's all she is. She's a little nothing of a woman, said my 4'10" grandmother. And then she gave Mrs. Kleinman the evil eye, followed by a Yiddish curse. She should become like a chandelier. She should hang all day and burn all night. I was just wrapping my mind around that when she added suddenly, she should grow like an onion with her head in the ground, which is a fascinating image for a woman who is swinging like a chandelier. And then, just like that, Grandma dictated. Today, I went to the butcher, and Mr. Brodsky, when I ordered a pound liver, gave me a quarter-pound extra liver, didn't charge not even a penny. Really? Grandma? Mr. Brodsky? Everybody says he's a mean, cheap old man. Why would he give you a quarter-pound liver? It must amount to at least 15 cents. You know Mr. Brodsky is so cheap he wouldn't give to a dying man a drink of water that's for free and doesn't cost even a penny. I know that Mr. Brodsky is such a cheap old man he wouldn't give to a dying man a drink of water that costs nothing, not even a penny. But Lou doesn't know. And I think maybe he'll be a little jealous. Yes? No. But I wrote about the quarter-pound liver. And the next letter about the hamburger. And then the free lamb chop. And before you knew it, we were getting free steak. Grandma, this has got to stop. You will make Lou so jealous that he will get on a plane from Miami, come to New York, and then what will you say to my mother and Uncle Max? And just like that, Mr. Brodsky had a heart attack, must have been from all the meat he sells in his butcher shop, and his son took over, and his son is so cheap he wouldn't give to a dying man a drink of water for free that cost not even a penny. Lou loved our letters. I could tell. And once he even complimented Grandma on her beautiful penmanship. One day I came home and Grandma was literally bouncing up and down in the kitchen, holding the last sheet of paper. Mamala, what's this at the end? Mit X's and O's, he signed it. What does that mean? Oh, Grandma, that means hugs and kisses. Really? Hugs and kisses? What gave him such an idea? I didn't tell her that I was so tired of her signing her letters, your friend Ethel, when he signed all of his, Love Lou. So the last letter I put a couple of X's and O's. What was one more secret? And I didn't know whether Lou understood the code or he was just imitating, but I wanted to believe that he understood the code. Well, at the end of my sophomore year, I had to go back to Chicago and live with my father. And Grandma and I couldn't figure out how I was going to continue to write these letters for her. We tried to figure out all sorts of ways. Nothing worked. And finally I said to her, Grandma, why don't you just tell Lou the truth? I mean, you could say that you had broken your arm when you got his first letter, and you had your granddaughter write it, and she just kept doing it, and no, Mama, I can't do that. You see, if he remembers me at all, it's as a little old lady walking on the bitumen by paddle pushers. But when he sees your beautiful curly cues and swirly cues, I think he sees me as a modern American woman. And that's when I realized that I was playing Christian to Grandma's Cyrano de Bergerac. I didn't tell her that because she might have thought that I had converted. Grandma, it's not fair. Fair, schmear. The girl who can't dance says the band can't play. What are you going to do, Grandma? I'm just going to rip up all his letters now that you're not here. I'm going to make them like confetti because you remember last year your mother conducted a search for your diary. The FBI would have envied that search. Throwing them all away. It's time to stop. Lou is sick now, Aunt Rose tells me. So is Grandma. It was leukemia. I returned to New York at the end of my junior year, and I nursed Grandma through her last few weeks. I'd go to the hospital every day and reenact the scenes from The Secret Storm and tell her all my secrets. When she died in early August, my mother and I went through all of her things, packed them up to donate to the International Workers' Order, and I was the one who found all of her purses at the bottom of the closet. The one on the bottom, the big straw bag she had bought from Florida with the flowers all over it, was heavier than the others. I unzipped it and out spilled, folded to fit perfectly into apron pocket letters, all of Lou's letters. So much for ripping them up like confetti. I knew I shouldn't, but I had to. I opened them and I read them all. Finally, I was going to get to read the juicy parts. I was hoping for Danielle Steele and got instead Jane Austen. Lou wrote about Grandma's eyes, the color of the ocean, about her laugh, about their long walks and holding hands and things that will remain Grandma's secrets. I knew what I had to do. I ripped all those letters up like confetti and threw them away in batches in a silent ticker tape parade to romance in declining years. And sometime later, I wondered if Lou had died. And when he had, if a daughter or a granddaughter had gone through his things, what madness would they have thought had overtaken this elegant, educated man that he corresponded with a little old lady from the Bronx who wrote in peacock blue ink in large swirly cues and curly cues with wavy crosses over her T's and saucers over her I's in peacock blue ink, telling stories about Mr. Brodsky's liver. And I could only hope that they would keep his secret, because whose business is it anyway?